All right, everyone, welcome back to another video in the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sander Stage and I'm a 20-year-old agency owner. I've been running my social media marketing agency and building it up for the past 3.5, 4 years to a point where we're now quite successful running our agency, serving clients globally. And yeah, this is my home office and this is where I operate my agency from. Once this whole world situation is over, we'll finally be able to have team meetings here, team workshops, client workshops, invite clients over for meetings, etc., etc. And so yeah, welcome to the agency. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 5 lessons that I've learned throughout my journey as an agency owner to a point where I'm now sitting running a very successful global agency at the age of 20. But mind you, that has not come without making tons and tons of mistakes during my journey and picking up valuable experiences and lessons under my way. All right, so hopefully, if you're an aspiring agency owner, if you're just starting out and starting to see your first couple of clients and your first success, then hopefully you can learn a lot from these lessons and hopefully you can avoid making some of the same mistakes that I've made during my journey, because I have made a lot of them. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into this video. All right, so lesson number 1 that I've learned as an agency owner throughout the past couple of years is that the outreach won't do itself and you have to be very, very consistent with it, okay? So back when I had just started out, I had just turned 17 and I was living in a boarding school. And 3 weeks after starting my agency, I closed my first $5,400 client. Now, mind you, during, leading up to those 3 weeks where I closed my first client, I had been doing nothing but outreach, okay? I was literally sitting, in my room in a boarding school, picking up the phone, emailing potential clients 3 to 4 hours a day for a solid 3 weeks consistently every single day. And of course, that's what led me to close such a big client within 3 weeks of starting, all right? But the thing is, as soon as I closed that first client, everything changed, because first of all, I was like $5,400, that's the world to me, Mind you, I had never had that much money in my bank account ever before. So it changed my whole situation. But quite quickly, I realized that with making money, you also start spending more money and you start to incur more expenses in your daily life. And it also becomes more expensive to actually run an agency, because you think, oh, now I can upgrade my website, now I can upgrade my softwares, now I can upgrade my computer, etc., etc. And so quite quickly, I had spent all my new money, all my new earnings on a new MacBook, a new monitor, a new, just a bunch of new equipment to run my agency and to take it to the next level. And so I'd gone from thinking, wow, I've just made $5,400, that's enough to live the next 3 years, to having spent it all quite quickly and realizing that, whoops, I actually need to, first of all, maintain this client that I've signed, and I also need to sign some more. And my mistake was, after closing that first client, I actually stopped doing outreach for a solid 3 to 4 weeks, because I had gotten so complacent and I got so satisfied with the fact that I had this one big client. And then after 4 weeks and taking on a lot of new expenses, I realized, whoops, I should probably get back on the horse and start doing some more outreach again, so I can actually up my revenue and so I can start making this kind of money consistently, and of course much more than that. Now, as I said, back then $5,400 was the world to me, but today that wouldn't even cover 1 month of rent, okay? So that just goes to, it puts in perspective that the more money you start making, the more expenses you also start incurring, and yeah, the more used the more used you get to actually having that money and being able to spend that money. So be consistent with your outreach. Don't get complacent just because you've closed 1, 2, or 3 big clients. You need to keep doing the outreach, and I would say you need to keep doing the outreach until you have at least 5 very high-paying clients, or 6, 7, 8 decently paying clients, okay? That's when you can start being a little bit more picky with the clients you take on, and that's when you don't have to spend all of your focus on getting new clients. But up until that point, you have to be very consistent with your outreach. All right, guys, lesson number 2 is never be scared to test out a partnership with a potential client, okay? Now, please take this one with a little bit of a grain of salt, because I do not recommend taking on just any client you can, especially not when you already have a few clients. But when you're just starting out and you have 0 clients, please don't be scared to test out any partnership, even though you don't see a lot of potential in it. Because what you realize once you go into your first client corporation, your second client corporation, your third client corporation, and actually your first 10, 15, 20 client partnerships, you learn so much from each and every one of them that the experiences you take out of each of them is just so valuable, and it makes you such a more experienced individual and a better agency owner going into your next client relationship, okay? And so in the beginning, don't be picky with the clients you start working with, okay? Don't be picky, even though they're offering you a very low retainer. Just don't be scared to test out a partnership, because you're gonna learn so much from each and every one of them, and the experiences that you're gonna take out of them are gonna be so valuable, and you're gonna be able to transcend those experiences into your future client relationships. So you're actually gonna be able to start charging more and more and more the more clients you've worked with, the more case studies you have, and the more experience you have just communicating and working with clients. And believe me, your future clients will be able to feel when you have that experience in your bag, okay? So in the beginning, just test out any partnership you can. All right, guys, lesson number 3, and this one is really important. It is to always set clear expectations for you and your client going into a new cooperation, okay? Now, what I mean by this is set very clear expectations in terms of, for example, results, okay? So don't guarantee your client a 10 or 15x ROAS in your first month of working with them, okay? Heck, don't promise them a 15x ROAS in any month, okay? But the point here is that, especially, nowadays with iOS 14.5, etc., it can actually take a longer time to make your campaigns profitable, because your pixels and your ads need more learning time in order to get to know your client's customer base, so it can start showing the ad gradually more and more to the right people. And yeah, your ROAS can actually start growing. Now, this is a little bit, reverse of what we saw, 2 years ago, which is you could see an explosively high ROAS in your first week, and then it would skydive after that. What we've seen in the past few months, especially with the new data changes, is that our campaigns are actually gradually getting more and more profitable the longer we run them, and the more we just let the algorithm optimize itself, okay? But the point here is just set very, very clear expectations for you and the client, and don't guarantee them something that you can't, don't promise them something that you can't hold, okay, that you can't keep up with. So yeah, explain to them that, this is advertising, this is a process, this is not some magic formula where you just spit in, $1 and you get $10 out from day one. It's a process. We need to let the ads and the pixel learn and get to know your customer base, and gradually we can make the ads more and more profitable. And this is a process that in the long run, after 3, 4, 5, 6 months, will be very profitable for you, okay? So explain it to them in realistic terms. Don't make it sound like a bad service, because it certainly isn't, but just explain it to them in realistic terms, because if you don't do that, you run into a roadblock 2 or 3 months down the line when you're not delivering the results that you had promised going into the partnership, or perhaps you're running out of content, right? And you're expecting your client to provide you with content, which is what we always do. We don't create the content for our clients, we always get the content from our clients. And so if you don't set clear expectations in terms of how much content your client should be delivering to you, then you might run out of content 2-3 months down the line of a corporation, and then you go to a client and say, well, we need more content to keep the campaigns being profitable. And then they'll say, well, you didn't tell us that. We don't have any more content. Now we need to do a video shoot. Now we need to do a new photo shoot. You didn't warn us about that, right? So set clear expectations in terms of how much content should they provide you with? What kind of results can you provide them in the first month? And then where can that go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the line, okay? So the point here is just, in most aspects, in as many aspects as you can, set clear expectations for you and the client going into the corporation. Now, the 4th lesson, and this is also incredibly important, it is to not be scared about the price that you're asking your client. It's completely natural, okay? Now, this goes back to also my first client and my second client. Actually, already, I say for my 3rd client, I was starting to understand how to present your pricing, but especially with my first 2 clients, I was so scared when I was presenting the price of my services to the client, right? Coming up to the client and saying, well, our service is $2,000 a month. That seemed completely abstract for me at first, right? And my first meeting, when I was explaining that price, I was so hesitant when saying the number. I almost couldn't get the words out of my mouth, and I waited until the very end of the meeting to present that price. We had a meeting for 1.5 or 2 hours, and at the end the business owner was just like, okay, this all sounds very good, but how much is the service? And then I was like, well, yeah, considering we're gonna do this for you, we're gonna do this for you, and this for you, I think we're gonna be charging you this much. And he was like, why didn't you just tell me? That's completely fine. And I was mind blown, And that's when you really start realizing, after you've worked with your first couple of businesses that actually have serious business owners, is a business owner doesn't mind paying you a large sum of money as long as you can actually deliver results to them, right? all they care about is, okay, they invest $2,000 in you per month and they invest some $1,000 in the ads. All they want to see is that this total investment between you and the ad spend has a positive return on investment. So if you're doubling, tripling, quadrupling, or even 5-doubling or 10-doubling that money, that investment they're making, well, then they won't mind paying you that. Okay, so it's really just simple math. Promise them a return on investment, because obviously usually you should be able to generate a positive return on investment. If you can't, well, then the client corporation won't exist anyway. It will cease to exist quite quickly within 2-3 months of going into a corporation. So just explain the business owner what you can do for them, what kind of results you can provide for them, and then they won't mind paying you that retainer, that monthly retainer of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, or even more than that. We have really large retainers, $6,000, $7,000 with some clients, and that's natural. When you're delivering the results, a high retainer is natural. And so when you're presenting that price to your client in your first meeting, especially when you're a beginner, just say it with confidence, okay? Say it as if it's something that's completely natural, because in all transparency, it is completely natural, okay? So don't be scared, don't be hesitant when you're presenting that price. This one is incredibly important, okay? Now, the fifth and final important lesson that I've learned from being an agency owner throughout the past many years is that you should always let your client know when they can reach you and exactly what you're actually doing for them, okay? So the first one is, when can they reach you? And that's really important, set clear boundaries going into a corporation. Let them know which kind of hours of the day they can reach you, because if you don't tell them, then they'll be texting you at 11 in the night, even 1 in the morning. I've had in the beginning where I didn't set these boundaries, I had clients texting me at 3 a.m., right? Or even just at 7 p.m. That's way too late. I don't want my client texting me at 7 p.m. I might be having a glass of wine, with my family. I don't want to take care of a client message at that point. So let them know when they can contact you and when they can expect to get an answer for you. Because if you don't tell them, which hours they can actually expect an answer from you, they'll be, pinging you like, did you see this message? When can I expect an answer? You don't want a client relationship to be like that. It's not nice. It's going to stress you out. Believe me, I've been in a position where I was literally just boiling over because I had so many clients and they were texting me at so many different hours of the day. And if I didn't respond for an hour, even though it was the evening for me, they were like, hello, can we get an answer? And so as soon as you just set clear expectations and boundaries for when they can reach you and when they can expect an answer from the get-go, then they'll completely understand that and they'll respect that, and it'll actually be easier for both you and the client because you both know exactly what to expect. Now, the second point with point 5 here was also set clear boundaries and expectations for exactly what you're doing for them. So if you're just running a lean agency, only running Facebook and Instagram ads for your clients, well, then that's all you're doing, okay? And you have to make that very clear to the client that that's what they're paying you to do. Because if you don't tell them that, then they'll also be texting you like, oh, can you help us? Can you come to our photo shoot and help us with the direction of the video? Can you help us? Can you tell us how these photos should look? Can you come out to our location and tell us what kind of content works best? Now, granted, yeah, you can easily go on a Zoom meeting and tell them what kind of content works best in your ads. That's a win-win for both of you because you're going to be able to deliver great results. But I'm just saying, if you don't let them know exactly what's included in your service fee, then they're going to start asking you to do a bunch of other things just related to digital marketing and online presence because they're going to have no boundaries and they're going to think that you're just at their disposal 24/7. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop a like. I rarely ask for that, but it really helps out the algorithm apparently. If you have any questions you'd like for me to answer in a future Q&A or just a quick question I can answer in the comments, drop it down below in a comment. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do that for more valuable social media marketing agency videos in the future. And that's going to be it for this video. Have a great day.